What if the greatest threat to your health wasn't something you could see, feel, or even notice? At least not right away. What if the most dangerous things weren't the sharp pains or sudden emergencies, but the slow, quiet changes that sneak up on you over time? You may feel mostly fine, maybe a little slower than before, a little more tired in the afternoon, or not quite as steady on your feet. Maybe your appetite isn't the same. Maybe you've had more trouble sleeping, or you've just felt off. These small signals often get brushed aside. It's just getting older, we say. It's probably nothing. But the truth is, for millions of people over the age of 60, it's not nothing. Every year, older adults pass away from conditions that don't always scream for attention. They whisper, they hide, and they're often ignored until it's too late. Today, we're going to talk about 5 silent causes of early death among seniors. Things like heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, dangerous falls, and even depression. These conditions are more common than most people realize, and they rarely start with big dramatic symptoms. Instead, they start quietly. A little fatigue, a missed step, a sad afternoon that turns into weeks of withdrawal. But if we learn to spot the signs early and take simple steps to respond, we can prevent the worst and improve the quality of life in ways that truly matter. This isn't about being afraid of aging. It's about being smarter, stronger, and more prepared as we age. You have the right to feel safe in your own body, confident in your steps, and hopeful about your health. And that starts with understanding what's really going on inside and around you. So please stay with me until the end of this video, because what you learn here could help you live not just longer, but better. You deserve that, and so do the people who love you. I know you are a person who likes to watch videos quietly. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, now is a good time to do it, because you are a kind person. If the video is helpful, press 1. If the video is not good enough or needs improvement, press 2. Thanks, everyone. Now let's get started. Number 1. Heart disease, the quiet thief. Roger had always considered himself a healthy man. In his early 70s, he still walked his dog every morning, tended his small vegetable garden, and rarely missed Sunday lunch with his children and grandchildren. Sure, he'd felt more tired lately, especially after walking up the stairs, and sometimes his chest felt a little tight after a heavy meal. But it was nothing alarming. "That's just age catching up with me," he'd say with a shrug. He never imagined that, deep inside his chest, his heart was struggling, silently, patiently, waiting for the day it would finally give out. That day came suddenly. One moment he was reaching for a glass of water in the kitchen, and the next he was on the floor. A heart attack. The doctors called it a silent progression. The signs had been there all along, but like so many others, Roger hadn't recognized them. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for older adults in the United States, and it doesn't always announce itself with dramatic warning signs. Instead, it often begins subtly. A growing sense of fatigue, occasional shortness of breath, a heaviness in the chest that fades after a few minutes. It's easy to dismiss these as just getting older, but in many cases, these quiet symptoms are actually your heart asking for help. Over time, cholesterol and fatty deposits can build up in your arteries, making it harder for blood to flow freely. This forces the heart to work overtime, increasing the risk of high blood pressure, irregular rhythms, and eventually heart failure or sudden cardiac arrest. The scariest part? This damage can happen quietly over years before you feel a single moment of pain. But it doesn't have to end in tragedy. With awareness, early testing, and small, consistent changes, you can support your heart in powerful ways, no matter your age. Start by talking to your doctor about your blood pressure and cholesterol levels, even if you feel fine. Cut back on salt and processed foods, which can put extra strain on your heart. Add more fiber and heart-friendly fats, like those found in oats, beans, olive oil, and salmon. If smoking is part of your life, now is the time to say goodbye. And don't underestimate the power of movement. Even a gentle 15-minute walk each day can help improve circulation, lower stress, and keep your heart working as it should. There's also the emotional side of heart health, something many people overlook. Loneliness, anxiety, grief. These feelings can take a physical toll. The heart isn't just an organ, it's a part of you that feels deeply. When you're under emotional strain, your heart responds, often in ways that quietly wear you down. So caring for your emotional well-being through connection, community, laughter, or simply taking time to rest is just as important as eating well or staying active. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you truly paid attention to how your heart feels? Not just its beat, but its burden. Not just its rhythm, but its whispers. Your heart has been with you since the very beginning. It has carried you through every memory, every heartbreak, every joy, every challenge. It's never asked for anything but a little care in return, and it's never too late to give it just that. In the next part of this video, we'll talk about something that strikes even faster than heart disease and often leaves no time at all to respond. It's called stroke, and it can change everything in a matter of minutes. But if you know what to look for, you might just be able to stop it before it starts. Number 2, stroke, a sudden silence. Janice had always been sharp, witty, and full of life. At 68, she still volunteered at her local library and led her church's weekly book group. But one Thursday morning, as she was pouring a cup of tea, something strange happened. Her right arm suddenly felt heavy. Her words came out jumbled, like they were trapped behind a door she couldn't open. Her husband, sensing something was wrong, acted fast. He remembered seeing a video about stroke and called 911 immediately. That quick thinking may have saved her life. Janice survived, and after weeks of rehab, she regained most of her movement and speech. But not everyone is so lucky. Stroke is one of the leading causes of death and long-term disability in older adults. And it often happens without warning, striking like a bolt of lightning out of a clear sky. A stroke occurs when the blood supply to part of the brain is blocked or reduced, depriving brain tissue of oxygen and nutrients. Within minutes, brain cells begin to die. The scariest thing about stroke is how fast it happens and how little time there is to respond. It doesn't build slowly like heart disease. It doesn't always give you time to think. That's why it's so important to know the signs before it happens, because every minute counts. Doctors use the acronym FAST to help people remember what to watch for. F is for face drooping. Ask the person to smile and see if one side is lopsided. A is for arm weakness. Ask them to raise both arms and see if one drifts downward. S is for speech difficulty. Listen for slurred or strange speech. And T is for time to call 911. Because the longer you wait, the more brain is lost. But while stroke often feels sudden, there are things you can do to reduce your risk dramatically. The number one risk factor is high blood pressure, which can quietly damage your arteries for years. If you haven't had your blood pressure checked recently, make an appointment, even if you feel fine. Managing your blood sugar and cholesterol also helps, as does quitting smoking and reducing alcohol. Diet plays a role too. Foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fats can increase inflammation and damage blood vessels. But foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, leafy greens, berries, and whole grains can help keep your brain and circulatory system healthy. And never underestimate the power of regular movement. Walking, stretching, dancing in the living room. Whatever brings you joy. Let me ask you, if someone you loved was having a stroke in front of you, would you know what to do? And if it were you, would someone else recognize the signs in time? Janice was lucky, but no one should have to depend on luck alone. Knowledge, awareness, and timely action save lives. And so does caring enough to ask questions, to learn, and to prepare. In the next part of our video, we'll shift our focus from the brain to another silent danger that's just as serious and often just as misunderstood. It's called type 2 diabetes, and it can quietly damage your body for years before you ever know it's there. But with the right choices, you can take back control before it takes control of you. Number 3, type 2. Diabetes, sweet but deadly. When Linda first started losing weight without trying, she thought it was a good thing. "Maybe I'm finally slimming down a little," she joked to her daughter. She had also been thirstier than usual, waking up at night to drink water and use the bathroom more often. But she didn't think much of it. She just assumed it was part of getting older. But during a routine checkup, her blood work told a different story. Her blood sugar levels were dangerously high, and her doctor diagnosed her with type 2 diabetes, a condition she had likely been living with for months, maybe even years without knowing. She was shocked. "I didn't feel sick," she said. "I didn't know anything was wrong." That's the frightening truth about type 2 diabetes. It often develops slowly and silently, without dramatic symptoms. Your body still makes insulin, but it doesn't use it properly, causing sugar to build up in your bloodstream. Over time, that extra sugar begins to damage everything it touches: your blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, eyes, even your heart. Diabetes doesn't just make life harder, it shortens it. It increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, infections, blindness, and even amputation. And yet many seniors live with it for years without realizing what's happening inside their bodies. So what should you look out for? Watch for persistent thirst, frequent urination, unexplained weight loss, blurred vision, tingling in your hands or feet, and slow healing cuts or bruises. These signs might be subtle, but they matter. If you notice even one, ask your doctor for a simple blood sugar test. Catching diabetes early can make all the difference, not just in treatment, but in preventing damage before it begins. The good news is that type 2 diabetes is one of the most manageable chronic conditions, especially with lifestyle changes. That doesn't mean giving up everything you enjoy. It means learning how to eat in balance. Reducing processed sugars, white bread, and soda is a powerful first step. Replace them with fiber-rich foods like brown rice, vegetables, legumes, and healthy fats like avocado or nuts. Add gentle movement to your day. Even a 20-minute walk after dinner can lower your blood sugar levels. Monitor your weight and your waistline. And if your doctor prescribes medication, take it as directed and ask questions if anything feels off. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you paid attention to your blood sugar, not just as a number on a lab report, but as a measure of how your body's coping? You don't have to feel sick to be at risk. You don't have to wait until something goes wrong to take control. Just like Linda, you can catch it early, and with the right knowledge, you can turn things around before the damage is done. Up next, we'll explore something that doesn't start inside your body, but in the place you live. A simple stumble on the floor, a missed step, a loose rug, these can lead to something far more serious. Let's talk about why falls are one of the most overlooked yet deadly risks for people over 60, and what you can do to make your home and your life safer. Number 4, falls. The hidden danger in your home. Margaret had always been independent. At 79, she still did her own cooking, kept her house tidy, and walked every morning to the mailbox at the end of her driveway. She didn't see herself as old, and she certainly didn't feel fragile. But one evening, while reaching for a pot in the upper cabinet, she lost her balance. She slipped on a kitchen rug and fell hard. At first, she thought it was just a bruise, but by the next morning, she couldn't put weight on her leg. At the hospital, they told her she had fractured her hip. It was the beginning of a long recovery, one that left her weaker, more hesitant, and, for the first time in her life, afraid to move around alone. Falls are often seen as minor accidents, but for older adults, they can change everything. In fact, falls are the leading cause of injury-related death among people aged 65 and older in the United States. A single fall can result in broken bones, head injuries, long hospital stays, and a permanent loss of independence. And what makes them even more dangerous is how quickly and quietly they happen. One moment you're standing, and the next, your life has shifted forever. What causes these falls? Sometimes it's something as simple as a loose rug, poor lighting, cluttered walkways, or slippery bathroom floors. But there are also invisible risks, like muscle weakness, poor balance, vision problems, or the side effects of medications that cause dizziness or confusion. Most people don't realize how much small things, like wearing the wrong shoes or skipping meals, can affect stability. And many seniors don't want to admit they're at risk because acknowledging it feels like giving something up. But recognizing the risk isn't weakness, it's wisdom. So how can you protect yourself? The first step is to make your environment safer. Remove loose rugs or tape them down. Install grab bars in the bathroom. Add night lights in the hallway. Keep walkways clear and organized. Use a cane or walker if your doctor recommends it, not as a sign of frailty, but as a tool of strength. And have your vision checked regularly because your eyes are part of your balance too. Strengthen your legs with simple exercises like standing from a chair without using your hands, or practicing heel-to-toe walking in the hallway. These may seem small, but they add up. Let me ask you, is your home working for your safety or quietly working against it? You don't have to live in fear of falling, but you do have to live with intention. Because when you make your home safer, when you move with awareness, and when you listen to your body, you're not just preventing a fall, you're protecting your independence, your freedom, and your future. In the next section, we'll move from physical danger to emotional pain, something that's far less visible, but just as damaging. Depression doesn't always look like sadness, and it doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it's a slow fading away from life itself. Let's talk about why depression in older adults often goes unnoticed, and what we can do to bring light back into the lives of those who may be quietly struggling. Number 5, depression, the pain no one sees. George had always been the kind of man who showed up at his granddaughter's recitals, his church meetings, the Saturday morning coffee group with his old co-workers. But after his wife passed away, something inside him shifted. At first, he said he was just tired. Then he stopped answering calls. Then he stopped coming out altogether. When his daughter visited, she found him sitting in the dark, eating little, speaking even less. "I'm fine," he said, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. But she knew he wasn't. What George was experiencing wasn't just grief, it was depression, a deep and invisible kind of pain that slowly steals a person's will to engage with life. Depression in older adults is one of the most misunderstood and most overlooked health threats. People often assume sadness in old age is normal. After all, aging brings its fair share of losses. But while grief is a natural part of life, chronic sadness, hopelessness, or withdrawal are not just part of getting old. They are signs that something more serious may be happening. Depression isn't always loud. It doesn't always look like crying or dramatic expressions of pain. Sometimes it looks like sleeping too much, or not sleeping at all. Sometimes it sounds like, "I'm just tired," or "I don't feel like doing anything anymore." It's subtle, it's quiet, but it is real. And if left unspoken, it can become deadly. What makes depression especially dangerous for seniors is that it often goes undiagnosed. Many older adults don't talk about their feelings, or they think asking for help is a burden. Some confuse depression with physical illness because it can show up as fatigue, appetite changes, memory issues, or body aches. Others are afraid of being judged, dismissed, or told to cheer up. But depression isn't a weakness, and it's not something to be ashamed of. It's a condition of the brain and heart that deserves just as much attention and care as diabetes or high blood pressure. The good news is that help exists, and it works. Talking to a doctor is the first step. There are treatments available: therapy, medication, support groups, and even simple daily habits like walking outside, talking to a friend, or volunteering. Staying socially connected is one of the most powerful protectors against depression. So is having purpose, something to wake up for, something that brings you joy or a sense of contribution, no matter how small. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly checked in with your heart? Not your heartbeat, but your feelings. When did you last let yourself feel sad or speak honestly about what hurts? You deserve more than just surviving the day. You deserve connection, laughter, purpose. You deserve to feel alive, not just alive on paper. In the next part of this video, we'll turn our attention to something even more subtle, something many people don't talk about at all, but that can quietly harm the body from the inside out. It's the misuse of medications and how simple mix-ups or side effects can have serious consequences, especially when no one's paying close enough attention. Number 6. Medication mix-ups. The silent mistake. For nearly a decade, Helen had been managing her health with care. She took her morning pills after breakfast, one for blood pressure, one for her bones, one for her thyroid. In the afternoon, she'd take something for acid reflux, and in the evening, there were a few more. A blood thinner, a sleep aid, and the multivitamin she'd been taking since her 50s. It seemed like everything had its place. Everything was under control. But gradually, Helen began feeling off. She had trouble focusing. Some days she felt lightheaded for no clear reason. Her hands were shaking slightly, and she began stumbling more often, catching herself on the furniture. Her family worried it might be the beginning of memory loss or something more serious. But after a medication review with her pharmacist, it turned out the cause was something far more subtle and preventable. Helen wasn't sick. She was simply overwhelmed by too many medications, and they were interacting in ways no one had noticed. This happens far more often than we think. As people get older, it's common to accumulate prescriptions, one for each health condition, often written by different doctors over the years. It may start with just a blood pressure pill, then something for sleep, then cholesterol, then digestion. Over time, the list grows longer. You are not a burden, and your health is not a nuisance. It's a priority. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly stopped and listened to your body, not to judge it, but to understand it? You've lived through years of storms and sunshine. You've carried others when they were weak. Now it's time to carry yourself with attention, care, and a deep respect for what your body's trying to tell you. As we move into the final part of this journey, let's bring everything we've learned together. From the silent dangers that live in our hearts and homes, to the quiet signals we too often overlook. The conclusion is clear. Awareness saves lives. In the closing section, we'll reflect on the power of small changes, the strength that still lives in you, and how to take the next step forward with clarity, purpose, and hope. If you've stayed with me through this journey, I want to take a quiet moment to thank you, not just for watching, but for caring, for listening, for choosing to be present with the one person who matters most in this story, you. We've talked today about the things that don't always make headlines, the slow shifts, the quiet signs, the hidden dangers that too often go unnoticed until they become something we can't ignore. Heart disease that sneaks in through everyday fatigue, stroke that steals time in a single moment, diabetes that hides behind thirst or weight loss, falls that happen in the home we've walked through for years, depression that dims the light without a sound, medications that heal and harm at the same time, and those little symptoms, those whispers that are often the very first cry for help from a body trying its best to hold on. But here's what I hope you remember most. None of these things are inevitable. They are not punishments for growing older. They are simply part of the story, and stories can be rewritten even late in the chapter. You are not powerless, you are not too late, and you are certainly not alone. Each small decision you make matters. Drinking a little more water, taking that walk around the block, asking your doctor one more question, looking twice at a pill bottle, picking up the phone to talk to someone instead of keeping it all inside. These are not grand gestures. They are simple acts of love for your body, your mind, your future. So let me ask you one final question. If your body is quietly asking for your attention, will you listen? You have made it this far in life because of your strength, your wisdom, and your resilience. And that strength still lives in you. It never left. Now it's simply asking for a little care in return. You deserve to feel good in your own skin. You deserve to feel safe, seen, and strong, not in spite of your age, but because of everything it's taught you. If this video has helped you, I hope you'll share it with a friend, with your spouse, with someone who needs to hear these quiet truths. Sometimes the smallest conversations can become the turning point in someone's life. Thank you for spending this time with me. Your story matters. Your health matters, and your next chapter is still yours to write. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and haven't yet liked and subscribed, now is the perfect time to do so. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people who need this kind of helpful content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll always know when a new video is up. Your support truly means the world to us. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.